Courtney Cox here in the NESN Digital Studios, and it's time for this week's episode of The Dish, and we've got a good one for you. We'll be talking about everyone's favorite rivalry, the Red Sox and Yankees facing off. We'll also talk about the Astros and their incredible start to the season, and you don't want to miss Darren Hartwell's Fantasyland, one of my favorite segments. So buckle up and let's get this thing started. Joined now by Ricky Doyle. We're getting this thing started on fire. We are coming out guns blazing, if you will.
Yes, we are.
And we're going to start with the Houston Astros, who are also, they're doing pretty well.
Scorching.
So I want to ask you, we're talking hot topics. Who, what, can it happen? Who can stop them?
Maybe themselves. I don't know. Yeah. At this point, they look like a wagon. They are far and away the best team in baseball.
A wagon?
Yeah. They're just
I would say like a Maserati.
Okay. We can go with that too.
Wagons can be broken down pretty easily.
This is true. Well, I mean, maybe you never know what's going to happen in the middle of the summer. But right now, this team looks legit. My concern with them in the long run is their starting pitching going to hold up? Because I think beyond the top two of Dallas Keuchel and Lance McCullers, there still are questions. I think you're going to see some regression at some point from the bottom of their order, as good as their offense is. So right now, yeah, maybe it's a cop-out, but I'm going to say it's themselves is really the biggest thing that's standing in the way of them going, wire to wire here.
All right, well, from one impressive team to one impressive guy, Albert Pujols joined the 600 club, if you will.
Did he?
He did.
Yeah.
He did. This guy, he sure did. Very impressive. Looking forward, it could be a while. We might not see it in our lifetime, another guy reaching that club. How impressed were you with this, and who do you think could be the next guy in line?
Yeah, I mean, it's impressive, and now seeing this, it kind of serves as a reminder of how good Albert Pujols was in his prime when he was in St. Louis, because, he hasn't really been up to that level the last couple of years. But yeah, no, it's an impressive feat. I think it's watered down a little bit by the amount of guys that are now in the 600 home run club. The steroid era obviously casts a shadow over that. But in terms of who's going to be the next one to do it, like you said, I don't think we're going to see it for a while. If there's anybody in baseball right now that's going to do it, I guess I would towards maybe Bryce Harper. I just think that maybe
with the flowing locks.
Yeah, Giancarlo Stanton's another guy, but I'm not sure if he's going to be durable enough. Harper's a guy. He's got the age. He's got the power. I think even as his other skills diminish, he'll still hit for power. So he would be the guy, and it's still going to take a long time to get there, though. So yeah, it's an impressive feat. Definitely.
All right, another guy, Edinson Volquez.
Yep.
No hitter. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool, the whole idea of
season first.
Yeah, season first. He had the the little tribute to his former teammate Yordano Ventura earlier in the day, and then came out through the no-hitter. So it's just a cool little backstory there. It's always impressive when somebody throws a no-hitter. That's another one where you could say it's watered down a little bit as to how many there've been in recent years, but with the number of complete games dropping, it adds a little bit to the no-hitter nowadays. So impressive feat. We want to do this? Who's going to throw the next one, huh?
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're going to throw in a Red Sox guy?
Yeah, I'm going to say Chris Sale. I'm going to say Chris Sale's going to throw the next no-hitter. It's such a weird thing to peg, because Volquez is kind of random,
Yeah, but it could kind of be luck.
Yeah, a lot of it. You look historically, some of the guys that have thrown no-hitters, it's pretty novelty list of characters, but so I'll go Chris Sale. Yeah.
Okay, I like that
Anytime he takes them out.
But you bring up Bryce Harper, so I got to ask, do you know what kind of shampoo and conditioner he uses?
I don't. You see, I keep it short.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean? And this is kind of long for me, too. I used to get my haircut once a week. Now I space it out a little bit more, but yeah, no, I never had the locks. I can't do it.
All right.
Lucky I can go facial hair nowadays. Jeez.
Okay, we're losing them. We got to send it over to our friend Darren Hartwell for Fantasyland, one of our favorites. Darren, tell us what's up.
Welcome back to Fantasyland. I'm Darren Hartwell, and as we do every week here in the land, we're going to check out 3 players owned in less than 50% of Yahoo leagues who are worth going after on the waiver wire. The first guy I like is Marlins pitcher Edinson Volquez. You heard Volquez's name earlier in the show because he tossed his first career no-hitter last week, but that actually was the 3rd consecutive quality start for the right-hander, who appears to be turning it around after a brutal first 2 months, which he lost his first 7 starts. He's still widely unowned in Yahoo leagues thanks to that slow start, so get him while the getting's good. Let's go from a former Royal to a current Royal for our second pick, and that's second baseman Whit Merrifield. The 28-year-old rookie finally had his 19-game hitting streak snapped on Monday, but it looks like he can hang in the big leagues, and he's also shown some pop with 6 homers and 15 RBIs through his first 39 games. If you need a second baseman, Whit is your man. Let's finish it off with a promising Brewers slugger not named Eric Thames, and that's outfielder Domingo Santana. Santana has joined the power craze in Milwaukee with 10 homers in his first 53 games, including 2 in his last 4 contests. He's actually starting to shoot past the 50% owned mark in Yahoo leagues, so don't wait too long to scoop him up. That's all the time we have in Fantasyland. Let's send it over to Courtney and Sam for a quick checkup on the Red Sox.
Thanks so much, Darren. I'm joined now by Sam Galanis, and we're going to do a little bit of a Red Sox checkup. We're going to start by talking about Hanley Ramirez and Rick Porcello. An unbelievable 2016 for both of these guys. This year has been a little bit different. When you look at both of them, who are you more concerned about?
Honestly, I'm more concerned about Porcello at this point because with Hanley, he's not doing great right now, but at the same time, the lineup is better overall, I think, than the Red Sox rotation. The Red Sox rotation has had a ton of injury trouble this year so far. They just lost Eduardo Rodriguez for 3 to 4 weeks, and they really need more pitchers to be consistent every time they're on the mound. Drew Pomerantz is getting there, and then you have David Price and Chris Sale doing well, but...
Let's talk Pablo Sandoval. Still hasn't performed since being taken off the DL. In your mind, who do the Red Sox put in his place?
I don't think anything gets done before the trade deadline, honestly, at this point, because if it's not working out, then they don't have it. It's either a yes or no at this point. Either someone steps up or someone doesn't. I think they have options at third base. They've been connected to Trevor Plouffe before, who's not doing great with the A's, but the A's are also not doing great either. And then you have someone like Eugenio Suarez on the Reds, who they might be able to get someone like him, who's not necessarily a star third baseman, but who's doing really well this year.
All right, now on the flip side, you look at a guy like David Price, who's been performing extremely well since being taken off DL. In your mind, what have you seen out of him? What have you seen that's really been clicking?
I think it's just his command is just better right now, and I think it's really refreshing to see that in his second start especially. He got a win in his second start already. First start wasn't great, but you would expect that for him being on the DL for so long. And especially with a guy who, at one point, they were worried he might need Tommy John surgery, it's so encouraging to see him have a good start in just his second start.
Yeah, I think all Red Sox fans everywhere had a big sigh of relief when it was found out that he would not need that surgery. But great stuff from Sam, as always. And now we're going to send it over to Ricky and Mike, two of our favorite guys. They've got to break some things down for us.
All right, Mike, good measuring stick coming up in the AL East this week. Red Sox traveling to the Bronx for 3 games with the Yankees, who they trail in the division. This seems to me like a series that, I don't know about you, I'm a little juiced for it, for at least the point in the schedule that we're at. Now I want to talk a little Red Sox-Yankees rivalry. Obviously, it's lost a little bit of luster over the years. But are we at a point now where maybe we're onto something, given with the state of these two teams?
I don't think we're there yet, but we're definitely on the
smoked, though, right?
Yeah, right. We're climbing the hill.
Yeah.
I think you look at with the way that the rivalry, the last chapter, the previous chapter of the rivalry kind of built was when those the homegrown talent started to develop, to blossom for both clubs, and then you kind of augment that. Both teams, a lot of good young talent, a lot of name power, a lot of stars. These two teams are both going in the right direction. They both look destined for success. Obviously, when the two teams have success, they're playing meaningful games that mean something in the standings. So they're going in the right direction. Not quite there yet. Maybe never be there again, but certainly relative to the rest of the league, this is the budding of a new chapter of the rivalry.
Oh, that's delightful. I agree with you. I do. I look at the talent. I look at the fact that these teams should be good for a few years.
Yeah.
They got, as you mentioned, the good young talent, but also they're gonna have money to spend. The Yankees are gonna have money. Big free agent class coming up after next season, so maybe this lingers into there, and that's when you really get when everything comes to a head. But you look across the board: Aaron Judge, Mookie Betts, Andrew Benintendi, these guys that are pretty flashy players. Talent wins out. So I agree. I think there's a little something here. We'll see. I do want to ask you though, because the Yankees obviously hold the distinction of being first place in the American League East. Red Sox playing a little catch-up despite their talent level. Which team's better positioned for the future, in your opinion?
I guess it depends how we want to define the future. Because if we're talking the next 1 to 3 years, I'm still taking the Red Sox. I think you look at the window the Red Sox have now with that rotation, assuming David Price stays healthy, assuming everybody else stays healthy. The top end of the rotation was Sale, Price, Porcello. If and when you get Thornburg and Carson Smith back in the bullpen, that pitching is that plays. And again, we talked about the young talent, the Betts, Bradley, Bogarts, all those guys.
Right.
There's so much talent there, and again, the pitching is what kind of puts them over the top next 1 to 3 years. You want to talk 3 to 5 years? I'm going with the Yankees. I think that farm system is still so loaded, and I think they're kind of actualizing their talent and their potential a little bit earlier, kind of like the Cubs did. Not saying they're on the same level, but they've arrived earlier than people thought. I think they'll stay around a little bit longer, barring any major changes.
I agree. A lot of similarities with the Cubs that you mentioned, and also the Yankees strike me as kind of like the Red Sox going into last season, where you look at how deep their farm system is. 8 players in the top 100 according to MLB Pipeline. So there are pieces, a lot of flexibility for the Yankees. They can keep these guys, groom them. Maybe they're part of the next wave of the rivalry that we're talking about, or maybe you trade them away and then you supplement them with the free agents. And I think that ultimately these teams are going to be on a collision. They're already on a collision course, but they're going to be going toe to toe for a little bit here. This is should be interesting.
It'll be fun.
Yeah. So should the series. You want to check that out.
Awesome stuff from Ricky and Mike as always, but now we've got our guy Darren Hartwell back. We talked fantasy land, now we're going to do fantasy advice.
Yep.
So we're going to start with Mike Trout, arguably the best player in baseball. Thumb surgery has kind of backtracked him a bit.
Right.
Do you need to trade him?
I would, that's what the disabled list spot is for on your roster. I would just stick him on the DL spot and keep him. I just think he's too valuable of a player. Obviously, if you have a really glaring need in your lineup, you're in desperate need of a starting pitcher or whatever, go trade for him maybe. But he's going to kind of be available down the end of the season. He'll be back, so I would keep him.
Well, on a positive note, Aaron Hicks, a breakout season with the Yankees so far. Is he a must-add? We just talked about someone you might need to trade. Is he a must? You got to get him?
Yeah, I think this guy, we've seen enough sample size for him. He's hitting over 300 through 50 games or around there. And I think, he's playing good defense too. I think even when Jacoby Ellsbury comes back, he's dealing with the concussion problems. I think they'll still stick with Hicks. They've kind of been devoted to playing those young guys. They're playing Aaron Judge. They kind of have that young nucleus that they're leaning on. So I think Hicks is kind of their guy going forward. And right now there's no reason why he can't keep it up.
Well, you talk about sample size, and it is June, so the sample sizes are getting bigger. What have you learned so far this season when it comes to fantasy?
Yeah, I think right now the early lesson is kind of that those gambles are paying off a little bit. If you took a guy, say like Aaron Judge, we talked about him. I think his average draft position was in the high 200s, and he's arguably, with Mike Trout out, he's an MVP candidate. And not to keep harping on the Yankees here, but Luis Severino on the pitching side, he was kind of a high-risk guy with some upside, but also a little volatile. He's one of the 10 best pitchers in baseball in terms of ERA. So I just think, if you're, I guess down the line next year, if you want to roll the dice on a young guy or take that chance, I think, a lot of times it doesn't pay off, but when it does, it can really help you out and maybe help you get in the playoffs or win your league.
All right, well, great stuff from Darren as always, and that will do it for this episode of The Dish. We'll see you in 2 weeks. You won't want to miss it. We will be back, but thanks for letting us dish it out. See what I did there?
I saw what you did there.
All right, we will see you next time. Keep it locked in right here at NESN.com.